he's like, hey man, so that video's crushing it. It's all organic. Like we did send out an email and stuff, and it's on the channel and it's in our Facebook group and all that. He's like, we've made 70K in just a few hours. He's like, we beat our Black Friday.
We're all about turning a crappy situation into something positive.
$250,000 of credit card debt.
I still remember the day when no one turned up.
Throw it in the garbage and start from scratch.
I could give myself a chance, so I started something.
I mean, I think that counts as from poop to gold.
Our sponsor for this episode is our 14-day video script challenge.
Yes, we are sponsoring our own show.
Yes, we are.
Welcome back to From Poop to Gold. I'm your co-host, Benton Crane, and today I'm here with my guest, Anthony Ambriz. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Oh, I'm excited to be here.
Good. So Anthony is a YouTube content and growth strategist, and he has worked behind the scenes to help many of the famous YouTubers. In fact, Lindsey Sterling and Devin Graham, Devin Supertramp, are both a couple of the people who he has done some work behind the scenes on to help them and their channels. Now, if I understand correctly, you go all the way back to film school days with Devin. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Why don't we start there? So Devin's an old roommate of mine.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
So it sounds like you might go back even further. I want to hear about this. So tell us about how you got to know Devin.
Yeah. So we're in similar film classes, and it was funny because Devin was really quiet in class, but then at the same time, I didn't see him often in class because he was out actually filming and doing the work and doing stuff, right? And so it was always interesting to be like the student films or the projects that we got, because then when you'd finally show them off, we're all like, yeah, we're done with this. We quit. Like, that is just too good. He's a student. He's a freshman. He's doing this. It's like, what? And it was always like, we were always impressed by Devin. And at the same time, like, we never saw him in class.
Because he was out
doing the work.
Happen, right?
Yeah, while we were writing papers. So it was always fascinating to see that. With Lindsey, I mean, I noticed her stuff like later on when she just put up one day like her playing violin and doing this Black Eyed Peas cover, and it went viral for the first time. And during those times, I think it was like 100,000 views and all this. And so I didn't get to reconnect with her until after she got done with the whole America's Got Talent thing. And then that's when I interviewed her and started talking to her about YouTube and the whole thing that she could do there. And then and there's a funny story where she came to me to get some footage because I'd filmed one of her shows that she was performing here locally in Utah. And as I'm giving her the footage, I'm sort of optimizing her old channel layout, which is like, it used to show friends and subscribers. There were like two different things, and showing her how she can modify it. Basically, old YouTube channels look like MySpace pages. Okay. Terrible like that, right? And then what was funny is that she mentions like, hey, Devin reached out. You know Devin? I'm like, yeah, we're all in the same film classes together. And she's like, he wants to like film a video with me. And I'm like, film that video with him. Like, do it. And she's like, okay, yeah. It's like, she was just sort of, it was strange to her. She's like, I did a video on YouTube a long time ago. I got taken down. And so like, I'm just putting stuff up there here and there, but like, she didn't understand the possibilities to it. And I remember saying like, there'll be a time where like you can reach out to these brands and get free violins. And I was thinking small too, right? Free violins, like whatever. and then I remember, seeing the video come out that her and Devin did together, and just exploded, and then hit after hit after hit, and then that was like the jumping off point for her career, right? That's where it went huge. Yeah, and Devin was doing that for a lot of the creators here in Utah. The way I played a role with Devin, it was just like he would put a post and I'd say like, I got that. I would sort of act as like this semi-producer of like, you need people to do bike jumps at a alpine jump. I know people call them up like, hey, do you want to go do a video? And they're like, sure. You need dancers? Hey, you want to go dance in a video? Sure. I was just playing that role at that moment. And then after that, it was just, you know, I was learning from Devin as well. And it was just fun to see all these great creators come from just this ragtag team of we're just having fun. And then all of a sudden we can do careers out of this. Like it was an incredible journey.
So I have a somewhat embarrassing story about me in my interactions with Devin. So we were roommates, right? I got engaged. Okay. And my wife and I, we hired this photographer to take our engagement shots. And we showed up at our appointment to get the engagement shots taken. And the photographer did a no-show. She totally forgot about us, blew us off. And so my fiance, now wife, that was pretty traumatizing for her. And I think if I remember correctly, she kind of like, what's happening?
These are signs.
Yeah, and she kind of starts crying, and I'm like, no, it'll be fine. It'll be all right. Like, I got this roommate. He's a really good photographer. So I call up Devin. I'm like, Devin, can you come save us? Like, our photographer didn't show up. Devin's like, sure, no problem. He drives all the way up to Thanksgiving Point, north of Provo, where we were going to school together. And he comes and saves the day. He
Awesome.
takes our engagement photos, did a great job with it and everything. But we get done, and he comes to Brittany and me, my fiance, and he's like, have you guys ever heard of a wedding video? And at that point, like, nobody really had wedding videos.
Right.
That wasn't really a thing yet.
Yeah.
We're like, no, what's that? And he's like, well, I've made one before, so check out this one. And he shows us this wedding video that he had made, and Brittany and I both kind of thought it was pretty cheesy. And so we're kind of looking at each other like, I don't really know how to, like, be nice and still say that, like, this is cheesy. And so Brittany was kind of like, well, thank you, Devin. We appreciate it, but I think we'll pass. I don't think we need a wedding video. And so we had Devin freaking Graham ready to make us a free wedding video. And we turned him down and said no.
See, I was waiting to hear that you have one of the rare wedding videos from Derek, because he didn't do many, and like, so there's.
But I could have.
You could have had one.
I could have been Devin Graham's second wedding video, and I turned him down. And so it was only like it was probably less than 2 years later that, of course, he became Devin Supertramp and started to become who he is today, which is a superstar, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would say we could definitely turn that to a positive spin, because that rejection probably led him to a different path in life, to not do wedding videos and do YouTube instead.
I like that aspect, because now I can feel like, hey, I contributed.
Yeah, definitely. Good stuff.
Cool. Well, let's go back to talking about you, Anthony. Right. So, first off, let's talk about what your career has evolved into. So, you helped out, with Devin and Lindsay back in the early days of their successes. Kind of what has your career turned into, and what are you doing today?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, during those early days, I was also running around with a camera, doing my own type of channel. I was doing more of the documentary, sit-down, interview type of situations, similar to this. I originally started as a podcast, and then the iPod video came out, and I was like, whoa, this is revolutionary. Video podcasts was like my first thought, which now it's like come full circle, because now video podcasts are the thing, hence this show.
Right, here we are.
Yeah, here we are. So
for those of you who are listening, this is also available on YouTube as a video podcast.
You can watch our faces and see our facial expressions. And so I was like, I'm just going to interview people, and I'm going to feature them. And Lindsay was like one of my first interviews for my first show that I was doing there. And from there, what I realized, like, I created a show. And so then I started getting, free access to shows and free clothing. And as a college student, recently married, broke, getting free shows and free clothing is really cool. Like, it's like, I don't have to buy stuff, and I get free food and go to places. That's fun. And so that was like my early career of just like running around doing this YouTube channel. And then from there, when I graduated from school, because I decided I should probably just finish, I was like a super senior, by the way.
I can relate. I did the same thing.
And so when I finally graduated, it was fun. My first job offer came via Twitter and a DM. And so it's always fun to say, like, the manager slid into my DMs. But they literally said, hey, we saw that you have a YouTube channel. Would you want to manage our YouTube channel? And I was like, sure. Like, I'm all about that. And what was always fun, the scenario that would happen when I went to that first interview, they're like, so we want to do something like the Harmon Brothers. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what's your budget? And then it was non-existent, right? So it's like, no, it's only going to be you. You're the whole shebang. Like, you film it, you do everything. And I'm like, all right, well, I mean, I know YouTube, I can help you on that part, but these viral video ads, like, we'll say that for a future date. So then what was fun was I could still, it was always fun to use Aura Brush and that whole, like that whole era to be like, this is viable for companies. Like you can create YouTube channels. So the first company I worked at and managing their YouTube channel was called Bodyguards. They do screen protectors, right? And so it's taking this it's just a screen protector, just this piece of glass that goes on a screen and make that into something that people can, like enjoy and be entertained by and watch and buy, mostly buy, of course. And so for those first few years, it was figuring that out. But like the first video I did, I basically did the whole idea of the infomercial model. Like I took the man on the street interview experience testimonials. We went to Salt Lake. We set up a little booth and we had people test out the screen protector on our own phones and said, try to scratch it up, try to break it, do this. Here's an X-Acto knife. Here's a screwdriver. Here's this. And that video to this day still sells product for them. And that was like back in 2013. And so like from that was like my early days of realizing I can sell stuff. Like I knew that model existed and was proven. And so from there, like my career took a turn to where now I started working with companies and with creators to help them learn how to sell using a YouTube channel, creating a show and creating awesome content that way. And that's where it's been ever since. I then got to work with other awesome creators from the area, like the King of Random. Every time I now mention his name,
rest in peace, Grant.
Yeah, it chokes me up because he was actually like, I always felt like he was like my first client, like of a YouTube creator, and we had tons of fun together and built great things together. And then after that, it was just, working with different companies, working with different influencers, creating content with them, and just sort of being behind the scenes and doing that. But then one thing that I had picked up from Devin was that he always wanted the community to come together, and he had held like an event where he brought everyone on to just meet and get to know each other. And so like around 2015, I was like, you know what, we're going to start doing that. So we did monthly meetups until about this year. I've taken a little break. But yeah, for 4 years, we were doing all these great events where we're just bringing the community together to get to just either present what they're doing, share their insights, and then everyone could sort of work and do collaborations. And what's fun is from those events, like a lot of people have grown new YouTube channels, have grown new careers where it was just a hobby, and now that's what they do for a living, and they're having a great time.
Very, very cool. Tell us about your poop to gold moment along your path. So every successful person goes through it, right? You have obstacles that come your way. Sometimes they feel insurmountable, but yet you find a way through to come out on the other side and end up with your quote unquote gold, right? Your success.
Yeah.
Tell us about your poop to gold journey.
So I think my journey definitely came when my wife was like, "You've bought a lot of stuff." and I was like, well, yeah, the investments, right, into my company. And she's like, but
what kind of stuff are we talking about?
We're talking about video production stuff, right?
Okay,
like
cameras,
lights,
microphones,
courses, going to events and all that stuff. And it was like, you know what, we should really start looking at our budget. And I'm like, we should. And so, I went the whole Dave Ramsey route, right? Like I picked up Money Makeover, Total Money Makeover, and I read through that, and then I was like, oh man, I have to sit down with my wife and we have to look at our accounts and all this stuff.
So had you gone into debt for all that equipment?
Oh, yes,
was that credit card type stuff?
Credit cards, loans from school, and all those things.
So reading Dave Ramsey came after that.
Yeah.
Or did you just ignore him?
No, I read Dave Ramsey and then I realized, oh, hey, so paying minimum payments on stuff forever probably isn't a viable way to live. I really got to understand debt there, because then I realized there was moments where we were selling things off. Like I'd get a laptop, and then a few months later, I'm selling the laptop to pay rent, and I'm like,
you're taking a big loss on it.
Yeah. I'm like, hold up, this isn't. Like I can't keep any of the cool stuff I want to use, because then we're selling it to pay rent, and we have kids now, and then
So financially, you're kind of living on the edge.
Yeah, definitely. And so me and my wife sit down and we look at it and we find out we have $93,000 of debt. and we don't even own a home. And we're just like, yeah, that's not
So
good.
some of that student loans, or is it all credit cards? What?
It was, I think part of it was student loans, and then a majority was credit cards, like
Wow.
probably like $50,000 to $60,000,
Which is all
credit
high
cards.
interest stuff.
Oh yeah,
That's
Yeah.
the stuff that buries you, right?
yeah, definitely. And so like, yeah, we were always making minimum payments, but nothing was moving, right? It doesn't move the needle. So once that started happening, that's where like there was definitely a mindset shift for me, right? Where it's like, man, I'm doing all this great stuff, but I'm probably not, like, a lot of stuff that I'm doing is free. I'm not charging enough, or like I need to figure out how to have that moment, right? Like to pay all this off and be financially free. And so then everything switched, and I got on this new path, this new track, and I started to like really pay attention to like, well, how is it that people are making money? How is it that, like, how are they using their skills to then, make something out of it? Because I was helping people do that, but then I was like, well, what do I do? Like, I can make you guys money, so now how do I make money?
Yeah.
And so then that's where I went. I think it was like I was like this is gonna be the last conference I go to, and I went to like Social Media Marketing World, and I went there, and this was just like about a year and a half ago, actually. So I went there, and while I was there, a good friend, Jeremy Vest, I think he's been on the show, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So he's a good mentor of mine, and he was always counseling me and helping me out, and he introduced me to Sonny Lenarduzzi. And Sonny was saying like, hey, I need help with my rebranding for my channel, but I'm also looking for coaches. Would you want to like be my coach for a bit? And then, we can see if you can take on some clients for me. And I was like, sure. So I started working with her, worked on her rebrand. And then after that, she's like, I want you to be a head coach for one of my programs. And then that's when like I had like this light bulb moment. I'm like, wait a minute. So you coach people to teach them YouTube and help them have success, and you get paid this amount, and this is your business. And I saw a model and a formula that worked, and I was like, wow, like I think I could do this eventually. And then when I was coaching people, I had one student in the program who, and this is one of those moments where like people don't show up, and then you're the only one left to do the thing. So I was going through training through a program to teach her students, and so she had fell ill, and so she wasn't going to be on the call, and so I was on the call, and I'm like, all right, this is my first person I was to take on, and the guy I took on was Mike from Stone Coat Countertops. And he has a YouTube channel, 70,000 subscribers, what it was at the time. And he teaches people how to do epoxy countertops, which I knew nothing about. Don't understand that industry at the time, but it looked interesting. And I was like, all right, I like a challenge. Let's see what this is all about. And so I was working with him, and then I just had this like little thought. I'm like, so no one's here to say what I can tell him and what I can't tell him, but I have an idea and I want to try it out on him. And so I'm like, hey, Mike, so
you're going off script.
Yeah, I'm going off script completely. Okay. I'm like, hey, we have so there was this system where it was like you send out emails to have everyone show up to a live stream, very similar to like a webinar model, right? Like you do an email campaign, get people on a live stream on YouTube, right? That's the way Sonny taught to people to launch their channels. And I was like, Mike, let's do it this way. Every time you send that email, I want you to send in a video invite to your audience within that email, and then just make those 5 emails, but do 5 videos for each one. And then go live. But now when you go live, I want you to sort of handle it like this. And so I sort of like, taught him something completely new. And I was like, all right, go for it. And I was like, we'll talk next week to like, sort of like, work on it a little bit more. Next week comes around, he just did it. He just went live, right? And I was like, oh man, what's going to happen? So for one, I had to convince him to go live because he never wanted to go live ever on YouTube. He's like, what if I set the table on fire and all this stuff? Or
it's scary, right?
Yeah.
Going live is intimidating.
Yeah. And so he does it, and I get an email, and Sonny gets an email too. And he's like, we sold more in one day than we've ever sold an entire month.
Wow.
And this has been our most successful month to date. And I was like, oh man. and then from there, like me and Mike just became the best of friends. And so And so he just kept redoing that formula over and over again. He incorporated a live show to his channel. And then by the end of that year, he was now pulling in 7 figures every month selling his product.
That's incredible. So let's talk a little more about this strategy. Is this strategy still today, to this day, a good strategy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's dive into it a little bit. So let's imagine, let's think about, many of our listeners we've got entrepreneurs, we've got marketers, we also have a lot of creators, some are writers, comedians, filmmakers. So why don't we go to the entrepreneur space? Because Mike was selling countertops. Let's see. Let's think of a good example for an entrepreneur. Let's say somebody who's selling shoes.
All right.
Okay. Talk us through. Okay, we've got a little boutique shoe store. Trying to make things work. What's the strategy you recommend?
Okay, so if it's boutique, it's brick and mortar. So hopefully this owner is somehow collecting people's emails addresses somehow, right? Like, give us your email, get a discount to use at the boutique.
So gotta have
emails.
Gotta have an email list and an email capture strategy.
Yes.
So however that strategy is, you're driving traffic either through ads or through, social content or whatever, getting traffic to a landing page, capturing the email address. Okay, we got that piece.
Yeah. So
what's next?
So now once you have that, it's just a 5-day email campaign.
Okay.
And this sometimes worries people because they're like, well, I've never emailed my list that many times in a short period of time, because it's literally going to be 5 days.
Okay.
You're going to email them throughout that experience. In fact, in one of those days, you're going to email multiple times. So the breakdown goes, you set a time and date of when you're going to go live. And this live event has to be an event. It has to be a party. It has to be a show. It has to be something that really gets people pumped, motivated to attend, stay, and do all that. So if we're talking about boutique, it might be a release of a new product line that the store is going to have that's exclusive to the store, or it might be, to me, I like buying shoes, so to me that would be really exciting.
Right.
New product line, right?
So what are we talking here in terms of this event? Is it okay to be just a one-time thing, or is this something that needs to be able to happen on a periodic basis?
So it could be a one-time thing. Like if for this strategy, like the way Mike applies it, he only applies it when he's releasing something new.
Okay.
So he's done it 3 more times with better results each time too. So like it has to be, because it has to be an event. It has to be like really something special. Even for, like, I know in the entrepreneur space we have our infopreneurs, right? Like you have to be launching like a really big case study showing behind the scenes of how you build something. It has to be something that's momentous, exclusive, and because when that invite's going out, it's only going out to those people on the list, right? Everyone on that list is VIP, so they're getting the special invite. So the idea is email number 1 goes out and it just teases that on a certain date there's going to be a big event. It's going to be live, and all they have to do to RSVP is subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Okay.
And then the video basically does the same thing. So there'll be some text in the email that's saying the invite, but in the video it's the person, right, who's running the channel to be like, hey, I want to invite you to come to this awesome event. We're going to go live on YouTube. RSVP, subscribe.
Okay.
So a couple of things are happening here too. One, it's gonna do a huge influx of new subscribers all of a sudden to the channel, and while those people are coming in, they'll start to like look around, look at content. So make sure that, like, if you're gonna invite people to a party, make sure that the place you're inviting people like has something for them to do too. Like, there's things to look around. It's a nice house, right? So like the channel better be good. There better be some content on there that people can enjoy as well. So that's email number 1. That goes 5 days out, and then email number 2 goes out either 3 days before or a day before. So it's like the midweek type of email, and that one then tells you the title of the event, tells you like a little bit more what's going to happen there. Again, RSVP. Again, the video does the same thing, right? But the video element is really what makes it very personable, like to be like.
So it's not just a text email. Yeah. You've got this video in there.
Yeah, so because the email's like, hey man, I'm doing something really cool. You should come. Like, I want you to come to this event. Email number 3 is the day of, so like a few hours before. So like if your event's in the evening, make it, that email goes out in the morning, and does the same thing again. It just says today is the day the event's happening. Email number 4 goes out an hour before, which just says, hey, in 1 hour we're going live. And then the last email is actually like 5 minutes before, but you're already live. And you're saying like, hey, we're live right now. We're waiting for you. Come hang out with us. And then we're going to do it. And then as soon as the time turns, you start the show. Like you start the party. You don't wait and say like, hey, where is everyone from? Like, no, you just start the show. You go to it, have fun, have someone that's there to moderate comments, to like keep people engaged, to pick the best questions, because you do want to offer some Q&A session to it. And you want to average that live stream, that live session to be anywhere from 38 minutes to an hour. With Mike, since his stuff is more demo based, like he had to create a whole countertop. His show was 2 hours long, but he had at least over 1,000 people watching that 2 hour special. That's
awesome.
And then he kept, and the thing is like doing giveaways, discounts for people who stay on the stream longer. Is like, hey, at the end of the stream, this is when you're gonna give the thing, so people have an incentive to stay. Also, the Q&A like happens at the end, so people have an incentive to stay again. But you have some show, some presentation, something really planned out. But yeah, once that happens, good things happen. Like, because by the time those emails have gone out, you've increased subscribers, you've increased some views, some engagement habit on your content that's there. On the live stream's increased all watch time, all engagement, and now YouTube really likes you because you had a party on your channel, and new subscribers, new views, new watch time, all that stuff, and now you have awesome customers because they bought from you, hopefully, or if you're selling something, right? Which you should only do this if you're selling something.
Now, how often does Mike do this, for instance?
So again, like he's done it 3 times in the past year and a half now, and he did it that first time to really launch his channel.
So it's like an average of once every 6 months or so.
Yeah, like I would say like I think there's a way to do it, maybe like once every quarter type of thing. But yeah, I think you have to have a real event happening, like make it a real thing. So this last time that Mike did it, he was launching a new product line of his epoxy resin. And then he recently did it again to piggyback off of a really cool infomercial he created, which I would want to talk about that because it's insane what happened with that one.
Okay, let's hear about it.
All right, so before we started the interview, I told you like I was like a big Harmon Brothers fanboy. I watched all the presentations, so I was always taking notes, figuring out the formula.
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are amazing. Going through the book, trying to see like, did I miss anything from the presentations, right? And so I modeled out the formula. And one thing what I found out with Mike is like he was always running paid, like he was putting paid strategy to his channel, but none of the videos that he was adding ad spend to were ads. They were just his videos, but he was still selling that way. And I'm like, Mike, you got to create an ad, and I think you have the personality to make it an infomercial style ad, because like and then he's like, hey man, I'm a big Billy Mays fan. Like I watched the Pitch Guys, I watched all those things. Like I know what you're talking about. And I was like, all right, well here's the formula, here's the setup. I learned this from the great Harmon Brothers. And I was like, here's the structure. Make sure you have this here. Problem solution, some fun. All that stuff. And then I was like, all right, tell me when you want me to review it, and I'll talk to you about it and stuff. And this was about 2 weeks ago, right? Where I got to go to his warehouse, got to see his whole company, everything that he's been able to do so far. And he had just been acquired too, and so he was living really nicely. He is living really nicely, and he's super happy. So he was like, "Hey, come train me some more. I want to learn some more stuff." And I was like, "All right." So the infomercial things what I taught him, he puts it together. That day, he's like filming stuff already. We meet again last week in Vegas, so this is really recent. So we meet up, and he's like, the video's out. I'm like, "Oh, okay. I'm not gonna review it. All right." He's like, we put it up at 5 p.m. It's on the channel, so it just got uploaded as a regular video. He didn't put ad spin or anything, just this organic video, 5 p.m. in the evening on his YouTube channel. I look at it, and like at that time that it goes out, it's like 2,000 views, then later on like 4,000, which is like not his average. But then the next day or later that night, we run into each other, and he's like, hey man, so that video's crushing it. It's all organic. Like we did send out an email and stuff, and it's on the channel, and it's in our Facebook group and all that. He's like, we've made 70K in just a few hours. He's like, we beat our Black Friday thing in one day.
So the 70K in sales.
Yeah, in sales. Yeah, from the offer that's in that video, right? And the video is 11 minutes long too. And I was like, whoa, dude, like, are you putting money? He's like, no. He's like, we just uploaded. I'm like, all right, cool. Awesome. Good job. Next day, he's all, hey man, that video's smashing records. I'm like, where's it at now? And I'm expecting like, maybe like 100K, over 500,000 in sales. And so then
in 2 days?
Yeah, basically like a day and a half. And I'm like, and then I go to look at the video views and try to compare the sales and the product offer. Like he's converting at 40% per view, like on that organic video, because he still hasn't put ad spend on it. And then so the whole day he's just there like emailing the warehouse. We got to make more product. We got to ship out stuff. We got to.
Yeah,
like,
are they starting to get concerned about? Can we fulfill on all this?
Yeah, they spent that day like trying to fulfill, right? Because like he's like, well, on the thing we put till supplies last, but now we're contacting the warehouse and making supplies last. And so like he's just crushing it, and I was like, so are you gonna put ad spend? He's like, well, we don't. Like, he's like, yeah, but we've got to first make sure we have product, and so
first got to fulfill on this demand before we push it.
But yeah, like he tells me that, and I'm just like, that's incredible, man. And he's like, dude, we smashed all records left and right and all this stuff, and he's like, and it still like has taken me a while to process that, because I always used to hear the awesome numbers, but like to then have like my own student and client and friend do that and be like, whoa, this stuff is just a formula. Just follow the steps, the recipe, and it happens. Like, and that's what he did, and he's had this success, and then he did the live stream method afterwards. So I contacted him, and he's like, dude, more records just broken left and right. He's like, we can't keep up, but he's like, we're loving it. We're not going to turn off the faucet. And so he's just having a blast, and
good
life
for
is
him,
good.
and good for you.
Yeah, dude, it's so much fun.
Well, that's fantastic. And I really appreciate you bringing back a success story and letting us know that that we were able to help, at least in a small way, and giving you some of the guidance to get there. Thank you.
I would definitely say come to conferences, listen to the best, and then apply and see success happen. Because here's the gold moment, right? Like, because of this, like I've been able to get new clients once I figured out the model of like, I can teach people YouTube, I can teach people video strategy and help them and create programs and do all this stuff, and having that mindset shift and starting to see that success. Like I've signed deals and new clients over and over again now, and recently we paid off a car. We're now at 40. No, we're at 40,000 now, and
so
now
you whittled away more than half of the debt.
And then, but at the same time, like when I'm looking at the numbers and seeing the projection, like we should be out of debt by the end of this year.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Well, you'll have to throw a massive party when you do.
For sure.
So, good. Well, thank you for sharing those use cases with us. What advice would you have for our listeners in terms of, what's kind of the next step that you would recommend for those people who are, they're kind of the soon-to-be creators or soon-to-be entrepreneurs? What's that step that you recommend in terms of pursuing their dream?
Yeah, definitely. I would say it always comes down to know where you're at, right? Like skill level, financial level, like mindset level, like just know where you're at in all aspects of your life, and realize that that's just a starting point, and then take everything that you have learned up to that point and then just start applying it. because sometimes we learn so many things and we don't apply any of it. We're just like ever learners, like just learning all the time. But as soon as we start applying things, like stuff starts to happen. It's like cause and effect. Like you put the formula, you put the recipe to work. Sometimes it might not come out perfect, but you at least created some funky chocolate cake, right? Like, but like, yeah, like have something happen, like create, start. And I think that's what it comes down to. Like know where you're at and then start and then just keep going at it.
Very, very cool. Well, Anthony, we appreciate you being a guest on our show. It's been fun to have you here and fun to get to know you better. And of course, for our listeners, if you want some more insight into how we've built our creative culture at Harmon Brothers, the book From Poop to Gold is a fantastic place to get that. We had a writer kind of be a fly on the wall for 3 years, and he kind of documented all the things that are unique about our culture, and he did it through the lens of a whole bunch of different campaigns that we worked on. So it was a fun time. And of course, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
As entrepreneurs and small businesses, we all kind of reach that point where we know we've created something awesome and we want to share it with the world, right? And it's that very next step that can oftentimes be really intimidating or really scary, or you just don't know where to go next, right? And the beautiful thing about this 14-day script challenge is you get your hand held from, okay, you have this cool product, now let's go research and find the exact way to present it and message it to the world in a way that resonates and gets people excited and they're ready to swipe their credit card and purchase. And in the 14-day script challenge, you get the opportunity to go through that step by step with our writers who have done it dozens and dozens of times.
You actually watch us go through each of the steps ourselves and create it with a real client, a real product, and it's a real campaign that's out there that's been very successful.
That's right. And the feedback that we've had on this thing has just been phenomenal. I mean, we get comment after comment and emails flowing in from people all over the world who have just raved about the impact that this has had on their business.
People tell us over and over again, it is just a huge value punch for the investment for this 14-day script challenge, and really gave them the tool set they needed to walk through it and make it happen.
And we've had dozens of students who have successfully taken the challenge, written their script, launched their ad campaigns, and driven success for their business. It's pretty amazing.
For more information, go to hbros.co/script. That's hbros.co/script.